Hydra is one of the most profitable, soloable bosses in the game, pulling in on average over 5 mil an hour before supply cost. It's actually a pretty easy boss to learn, even compared to something like Vorkath. Hydra is not as consistent money as Vorkath, as a lot of your profit comes from claw and leather drops, but even without the average drop rate for rare drops, Hydra is easily over 3 mil an hour. Having a solid understanding of the Hydra's mechanics before you attempt him will make getting him down consistently a walk in the park. Hydra has incredibly high requirements, 95 Slayer, and a Hydra task from Konar, as only Konar can assign Hydras, for a start. I recommend having at least 90 plus ranged, as this will dramatically increase your DPS over lower levels. A high prayer level with rigor unlocked will also dramatically increase your DPS, quite a bit, as you can stop worrying about the floor's heat damage and wear Pegasian boots. I would recommend getting at least the hard diary completed for the teleport to the mountain, although this will only provide you with 3 daily teleports. A high magic and defense level can help reduce incoming damage, although once you have a good handle on the Hydra, you'll be negating a majority of the damage anyway. For gear, I bring a Slayer helmet, as you will always be on task. This makes Void a pretty terrible choice. A twisted bow with amethyst arrows is the best option for Hydra. If you can't afford one like me, bring a blowpipe. That's the next best option. The Dragon Hunter's crossbow also works against Hydra, but because of how low his defense is anyway, blowpipe during certain parts of the fight out DPS the crossbow against Hydra. The ruby bolts do make your DPS a bit higher for the first part of the fight, but switching to a blowpipe at the end of the fight adds too much complexity for such a small increase in DPS. I bring a necklace of anguish, archer's ring, armadillo armor. Armadillo provides only a plus 0.5% DPS bonus, and the defense bonuses are almost irrelevant at Hydra as you avoid the damage. Focus on other upgrades if you don't have this setup. Blessed Dehyde works perfectly fine. Rada's Blessing. If you're bringing a T-bow, make sure you keep this in your inventory to teleport to the mountain. And Pegasian boots. If you have the diary done but can't afford the boots, Blessed Dehyde boots are more than acceptable. If you do not have the diaries complete, your next best option is Brimstone boots. These have a small ranged attack bonus. For inventory, this is going to vary quite a bit depending on your skill level. I take an Antidote plus and 3 Divine Ranging Potions. I take my rune pouch with Elk runes and an extra slot for rune drops. I typically just keep this stocked with blood runes in the 3rd slot, but the boss has multiple valuable rune drops. More prayer potions means you can stay there longer, but more food gives you some leeway on mistakes. I usually take about 11 mantas and 12 prayer potions, but if you find you're running out of food or running out of potions before food, you'll want to shake up the quantities of each. You'll take a small amount of guaranteed damage no matter how good you are, so I would take at least 4 mantas if you are very consistent. I don't recommend taking brews as they prevent you from using the great DPS benefit of Divine Ranging Potions. Jagex has successfully pulled Divine Bastion Potions. These would provide both the benefits of a super defense potion and ranging potion. Those potions will be a better option than the ranging potions should they get released after this video, but the extra defense isn't too necessary. If these potions are expensive, the ranged option may still be the better option. Hydra is located in the Carullum Slayer dungeon. The fastest way to get there is by teleporting with Rada's Blessing. If you do not have this unlocked, the next best option is Fairy Ring code CIR and climbing up the cliffside nearby. Inside the dungeon, if you have 88 agility, you can take the pipe straight to Hydra. This isn't really faster, but lets you avoid walking through the nearby Hydras. If you don't have this, you can run past the Hydras to get there as well. Try to throw on either Protect Magic or Protect Ranged. Once you pass the rock before the entrance to Hydra, you'll be in your own personal instance. Because the boss is instanced, try to pick the lowest ping world you can find, as it will make the firewalking part of the fight much easier. Like with most instance bosses, anything dropped on the floor of this fight will stay there for 30 minutes instead of 2. This is especially helpful with Hydra because he will drop supply drops, allowing you to keep extra food and potions on the ground. Let's first give a rundown of his attacks. Hydra has 2 regular attacks, magic and ranged. Hydra will attack you with either magic or ranged for 3 attacks, and then swap to the other style. If he attacks me 3 times in a row with ranged, the next 3 attacks will be magic, and vice versa. Special attacks are ignored in this rotation completely. This requires you to do some mental counting. If you have successfully completed the Corrupted Gauntlet, this is going to seem like a walk in the park in comparison. I've seen it pointed out his ranged attacks come from his left heads, and his magic attacks come from his right heads, although I find this much harder to pay attention to than just the shape of the attack. The Hydra also has 3 different special attacks, corresponding to each phase of the fight. These special attacks are used after his first 3 attacks in a phase, and then should the phase last long enough, again after 9 more attacks. This not only pertains to his poison special, but also his lightning and fire special attacks. This counter is reset after a phase ends. Typically, your DPS is high enough, you will only see a single special attack each phase. You are safe to walk under Hydra, as he has no stomp or melee attack like most other bosses. For the first and last phase, where Hydra is green or black, he will use a poison attack. This will shoot poison either in one tile or in a shotgun spread randomly around you. Make sure to move a couple of tiles away when his attack comes out to avoid the guaranteed splotch of poison that will fall where you are standing. This attack is why we bring an Antidote plus potion. The second special attack is used on the second phase, where Hydra is blue. Hydra will shoot out 4 electrical tornadoes that will chase after you. Should these hit you, they will deal about 10 damage and freeze you in place. The third special attack is used on the third phase, where Hydra is red. The Hydra will wall you off with fire in a small area and begin shooting fire behind you. To avoid this, you need to be moving, or you'll be hit by fire, dealing an initial 10 to 20 damage, and hitting you 5 times in a row for 5 damage each, on top of the initial damage. This is the most punishing special attack to get hit by. The fight has a pretty simple rundown. There are 3 different colored chemicals spouting out of the boss's arena. Hydra needs to be lured onto a specific color each phase, except the very last phase, in order to lower his defense. The Hydra will roar, as well as give you a chat confirmation, which will confirm that you have correctly lured him. For the first green phase, you will lure Hydra onto the southeastern red tile. After bringing his health down below 825 health, or 75%, he will lose a head and turn blue. During this phase, you will need to be lured onto the northeastern green pool. Avoid luring onto a pool early, as this will boost his max hit slightly for the rest of the fight. Once below 550 health, or 50%, he will turn red and need to be lured to the northwestern blue pool. After you've brought him below 275 health, or 25%, he will turn gray and not need to be lured again. The standard run is pretty simple, but has a lot of steps. Hydra starts on phase 1 in green form. His first standard attacks are random, but his magic attack is slightly more dangerous than ranged, so start by praying Protect Magic and swapping accordingly. You run to the southeastern part of the room to lure him onto the red pool. This tile will always lure him after you have killed him, and he respawns, so you will want to stand on this tile after each kill. But you may not be far enough away if this is your first kill of the trip. You may need to move around to lure him adequately. After 3 attacks, he will shoot a blob of poison you need to avoid by walking a couple of tiles away. The globules will remain on the floor after it has thrown them at you. If they are in your way, you can run over a single tile of poison if you start on the tile before and run to the tile after. After he enters the second phase and turns blue, we will lure Hydra onto the northeastern green pool by walking to this tile, then walking to this other nearby tile to give us room to dodge the upcoming lightning. As soon as he shoots electricity, after his third attack, wait until the nearest electricity forms, and then run to the western part of the room on this tile, luring him right next to the pool. If you start running too early, you will get hit by the lightning. After we damage him enough to go to the third red phase, we run to this tile to lure him into the blue pool. After 3 attacks, Hydra will begin walking to the middle of the room, by which point we need to be standing on this tile. If you take too long to get there, Hydra will stun you before you can get to the tile and mess up the fire skip. Hydra will spit 2 walls of fire east and south of you and begin spitting fire under you. Simply run to this lower tile as soon as you see his head move. This trick really is as easy as it looks. You have quite a bit of leeway. I've never messed it up once I was on the correct tile. I had a whole section where I discuss firewalking like in Wook's guide and explain how to do that, but this is so much easier and better overall, you should do it every single encounter. Big shout out to Jamps and Jarvis, who alerted me of this method after uploading my original rundown. Please comment any tip you can think of in any of my videos, big or small. These are really a huge help. I would recommend saving your blowpipe specs for the 3rd or 4th phase, as these are the most dangerous parts of the fight. The specs do 50% more damage and can help you speed up the hard phases. After this, Hydra will enter his 4th and final phase where he turns gray. People call this the Jad phase, but I don't consider this an accurate description. With Jad, you have to react to his attacks, but with this phase, you simply alternate prayers each attack, making it pretty easy. The first attack he will use during this phase is the opposite of the last attack you received during the fire phase. So simply change prayers when this phase starts and get ready to alternate. Should you miss a prayer during this phase, Hydra's max hit is raised from the normal 2 hits with a max of 17 each to 1 massive hit with a max of 52. This phase can quickly KO you if you aren't paying attention. After 3 attacks, Hydra will shoot a poison blob at you like in the first phase, so make sure you avoid this. Keep in mind he can fire a second poison blob if it takes you another 9 attacks, so if you get unlucky with DPS, you will need to avoid the poison again. Continue until you have defeated the Hydra, and repeat. Hydra takes about 20 seconds to respawn. You can leave and re-enter from the rock outside to respawn him a bit more quickly, but I really don't bother doing this, as it doesn't save much time and despawns any items you have left on the ground. After the trip is completed, I fill my inventory with bones. I don't bank all of the bones as they are only worth 6.5k, and it takes a while to get back here. And I teleport to Mount Carulum using my Rada's Blessing. Make sure you bring a teleport of some kind if you don't have this, as you cannot leave through the door once you have entered the encounter with Hydra. Once I'm at the mountain, I simply teleport to Clan Wars using the minigame Teleport. A trip lasts long enough that this should always be off cooldown. Tile indicators are incredibly useful for this fight. I took this layout from Mammal's Guide, thank you Mr. Mammal, and improved it slightly by reducing the distance you have to walk. You can add all the indicators from outside the boss room, making it very easy to set up. Keep in mind, if you die, you can reclaim your items from the blue guy outside of Hydra's boss room. But if you don't have the diary completed, please don't forget to bring new boots of stone. If you die a second time, everything will be lost permanently, and a lot of people run here not thinking and just burn to death. I have made a kill rundown guide, which you can see in the top right of the screen or in the pinned comments. This rundown goes over what I am thinking during the encounter and my strategy. An average Hydra kill is about 2 minutes, with about 20 seconds for him to respawn. If we include the time to bank, 30 to 40 minutes after the first kill, this puts the kills an hour with max gear and blowpipe at about 24 to 25. This equates to over 5 mil in total loot an hour on average. Quite a bit of this coming from the rare Hydra Claw drop that is used to create the Dragon Hunter Lance, valued at 80 mil. The Twisted Bow is a bit more DPS, so you can expect an extra kill or 2 if you are using one. There is a decent amount of supply cost. You will use roughly 500k in supplies an hour, less with a Twisted Bow. Depending on the supply drops you receive, expect to make 4 to 4.5 mil an hour with that factored in it. The wiki has a great calculator depending on your kills an hour. If you have worse gear or aren't perfectly experienced with all of his attacks and are making some mistakes, keep in mind you will receive on average 3 to 4 Brimstone Keys a task, which is left out of the wiki's calculation, increasing GP an hour by about 50k, but it also includes all of the bones which you would have gotten, but you won't be taking all of these, so you need to take some GP away there. This boss also provides fairly good XP rates, around 30k Slayer XP an hour and 130k ranged XP an hour. This is surprisingly one of the best boss tasks for Slayer XP in the game. And that does it for this video. I was surprised how incredible the money from Hydra is for how easy he is. Leave a like if you liked it, or subscribe. Thanks guys.